special show today. I feel like the word special gets overused, especially when like special guest. But we actually have a special guest today, and I actually have a special show. Welcome to the Soscast. This is where finance meets romance. We like to say we're their sexiest financial show in the world, only here on Valuetainment, the #1 channel in the world for entrepreneurs. And we have a massive entrepreneur in the house with us today. His name is Richard Cooper. He has a channel called Entrepreneurs in Cars. You might have seen also Richard Cooper clips. Red pill manosphere thought leader, I would say, more than anything, just encouraging men to be better, stronger, cooler, sexier, healthier, wealthier, all the stuff that we stand for here. He's the author of The Unplugged Alpha. We're going to discuss what that means today. And what I like about Richard is, and it says this in on his webpage, is that he's the purveyor of the cold, hard truth. So we're going to get some of that truth today here on the Soscast. So Richard, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate the intro.
Thank you. And I know we were talking a little bit before the show about my energy levels are sometimes very high. You're very cool, calm, collective, stoic type of dude. So we'll try to meet in the middle today. Maybe I'll take it down a notch. Maybe I'll get you laughing and energetic today. We'll see what happens. Mm-hmm. But
let's rock and roll, baby.
Thank you for being here. The lovely Natalia Del Valle is in the house today as well.
Hello.
From a beautiful female's perspective.
Hello.
You know, I like to say this is the sexiest financial show. Part of the reason is not all me. It's Nat here as well. And Nat says, well, don't forget, Richard Cooper is a pretty good-looking dude as well. I was like, okay.
You too, cool. Adam.
Thank you.
The looks.
You know, the gray in the
looks.
beard. But Richard, I just gave you an introduction. One of the things that we ask all our guests up front is just to understand the basic dynamics of who you are. Would you tell us your relationship status and how you make your money?
Oh, okay. So I've got a long-term relationship, and I suppose how I make my money as an entrepreneur. I've always done that for the last 22 years now, I think. I got started in the credit card debt relief business after I left the collection industry around, I think it was 28, 29 or so. Yeah. And haven't really gone back to work for anybody since. I'm kind of unemployable at this point.
Good thing. Unemployable by choice.
Unemployable by choice, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
When it's not your choice, that's never a good thing. When it's your choice, that's actually a very, very shrewd good thing. Well, today, on today's show, I know we got you for about a little over an hour today, so we're going to go fast, effective, and we're going to get some good content for the young men out there that want to improve. We're going to be talking money, entrepreneurship, what it means to be a man, especially in today's society, masculinity, dealing with modern women, relationships, dating. Should you get married? Should you not get married? And then if we have time, one of my favorite clips you've ever done is a clip you did, I believe, 2 years ago, is 19 things your father should have taught you but never did. And at the end, maybe we can do a little rapid fire with that. But I want to start with basically your brand. And just so the audience understands, you wrote a book. It's called The Unplugged Alpha. I would like to know, just so everyone's on the same page here, what does it actually mean to be an unplugged alpha?
Yeah, so I've identified 4 quadrants that most guys fit into. So if you can sort of on your screen draw a big cross on the left-hand side, you've got your alphas on the right-hand side, you got your betas on the top, they're unplugged, on the bottom, they're plugged in. So you can have a plugged-in alpha, you can have a unplugged alpha, for example. I did this longer podcast on my Unplugged Alpha podcast series, so for those that really want to dive deep into the weeds, they can go look it up. But essentially, the unplugged alpha is the best way to live your life if you want to get everything that you want out of life. Most of us start as either plugged-in betas or alphas, and you can kind of work up your way from there. Gotcha.
And so, a lot of the stuff with the red pill community, the manosphere, they draw a lot of the metaphors from the Matrix. I'm getting the vibe that this is also basically something from the Matrix when Keanu Reeves has to get unplugged. Is that essentially where this came from?
I actually had a guy from my community name the title of the book, so I liked it and I ran with it.
So we're not giving Keanu Reeves a shout out here. So I guess I understand fully the difference between alpha and beta, and there's different types of pyramid of of masculinity. You've got alpha, beta, sigma, omega, gamma, all these types of men out there. But clarify, what does it mean to be plugged in or unplugged? That's something I'd like to unpack a little bit.
Well, when you're plugged in, you're sort of sleepwalking through life, right? You kind of comply with everything they tell you to do. These are all the people that you saw wear face diapers, stand on their dots, and comply with everything they told us to do the last few years, right? Those that sort of questioned and leaned back and said, well, hold on a second. Let me just see what this is all about. Let me just look at some numbers. Let me evaluate the situation. That's what an unplugged guy sort of does. So it's really the difference between, being at the helm of your own ship and basically being a dead fish floating downstream.
So obviously this is as poignant as ever, this unplugged metaphor, especially during COVID, because, the face diaper analogy. But prior to COVID, it was maybe a little bit harder to distinguish who was plugged in, who was not plugged in, right? Because it kind of became very clear who's questioning the rules that are kind of coming down, trust the science, all this stuff that's happened and transpired over the last couple of years. But prior to that, how would you define someone being plugged in or unplugged from the matrix, so to speak?
Yeah, I think your analogy there is spot on, because the scamdemic really highlighted those that were part of the problem, part of the system, and those that kind of ask questions. Prior to that, it's your guys, your conventional guys that would sit around during the holidays when he was getting browbeat by his wife and just sit there and go, well, happy wife, happy life, golly gee. Those are your standard sort of plugged in sort of guys, right? They just subscribe to the narrative that's been sold to them their entire lives through a steady diet of, Disney films and Hollywood and media consumption and all that sort of stuff.
When did you become unplugged officially?
For me, it was a rather lengthy process. I would say there was 3 things that happened. The first was my divorce, which was well over a decade ago now. And you don't really get what you kind of expect. I think most guys that get divorced are just like, well, that was like taking a frying pan to the forehead. I didn't expect it to go that way, or it to sort of operate that way, because we've kind of been told our entire lives that men and women are equal and, we should treat everybody the same sort of thing. But that's not what you really get when you go through the divorce machine. So that was the first thing that sort of started to slap my face. I guess the second thing was a bit of legislation that came down the pipeline when I was still running my debt business around 2010 to 2013, I think it was. And that was the banks and the credit card companies that made a coordinated and concerted effort to eliminate options that helped Canadian consumers get out of credit card debt, which was a big surprise, because you'd think, you've been told your entire life the government's there to sort of take care of you. You vote for them, they're going to provide you with roads, they're going to provide you with services and things that will allow you to live the best possible life that you can. But through this lobbying effort, I discovered, nope, that's not how they work. And I guess the third thing was, after my divorce, I got involved with this gal for about 3 years that was a single mom with a couple of kids. And, a few things happened that typically happen to most guys during their relationships with women that happened to me. And I was just like, okay, I got to get my head screwed on right. There's all these things that keep happening to me in my life that sort of destroy my safe world theory. And it's nobody else's fault but mine, because I'm an ownership guy. I always say, do the work. And I sort of had to dive down this rabbit hole of asking questions. And, answers came to me when I started asking questions.
Gotcha. So give me the final question with the plugged and unplugged. Give me the biggest benefit of being unplugged, and give me the biggest, I guess, disadvantage of being plugged in.
Well, I guess the biggest benefit is you live life on your terms. You can then become the best version of yourself. You're at the helm of your own ship. Being plugged in, you're just like everybody else. You're like about 95% of the population, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
most people are plugged into society's lies.
Well, how do you know at what point do you realize like you're plugged in?
You don't, because you're plugged in.
Right. So how does someone like...
It's usually chaos or trauma. So for a lot of guys, it's, holy crap, I didn't think my wife would cheat on me, because we took vows together to love and to hold in sickness and health and richer and poor. Why did she start banging Kevin from sales, right? So it's some form of chaos that usually breaks the safe world theory for them that they subscribe to. And then it forces them to realize, okay, there's some new information that I need to take in here.
All right, last question on this is, what's step one to getting unplugged? You know how they say, like in the 12 steps, the first thing is realizing that I do have a problem or whatever it may be. What's step one to getting unplugged?
Step one is kind of 2 steps. It's you've got to see the world for what it is, and then you've got to see everybody else's bullshit, and then you have to see your bullshit, right?
Never fun to have to look in the mirror and be like, buddy, you are plugged in, you're 20 pounds overweight, you're broke as shit, you're not that good looking, and you're not that cool, and you're not in high school anymore. So
It's
kind of hard to
well, if you ever watch
that.
any of my call-in segments from my podcast, a lot of guys are like, but I'm a high-value guy. And it's like, no, you make $50,000 a year and you look like you're about 50, 60 pounds overweight. It's like, let's maybe start with that first.
First step is recognizing the problem.
Yes.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Let's move on. I'll kind of, being that, our channel, the foundation of our channel is entrepreneurship, capitalism, business owners, being unplugged and doing things on your own terms rather than kind of going with the system. And obviously your channel, Entrepreneurs in Cars, there's a lot of simpatico going on there. I kind of, I would say 90% of our audience are young men, 20s, 30s, what have you. I'm in my early 40s. I kind of look at myself as like a big brother to some of these guys, right? Like 10 years younger than me. Are you late 40s, early 50s? How old are you right now?
Yeah, we can say late 40s or early 50s.
Okay.
I've gotten to the point where I realize it's better to keep information about me as private as possible, so I don't give away stuff like that.
So where I understand that. Where I'm gonna go with this is, I kind of look at you as like, as an uncle, right? Whereas I'm more of a big brother, you're more of an uncle. But the point is, I'm someone who looks at you as like, I want to get to where Richard is at, and there's young guys that look at me as like, I want to get to where it's Adam's at. There's levels to this. So where I want to kind of go here is, real quickly, is goals, whether it's financial, dating, and life goals. Real quick, in your opinion, what goals should a man reach by age 30, by age 40, and by age 50? So let's start with the first one. A guy in their 20s, where should they try to reach goals, financial, dating, and life goals by age 30? Then we'll go down the line.
So as far as life goals, I mean, you got to get your health sorted out. I mean, if you can't live in a healthy, masculine, strong body, you're not going to fix your mind. There's too many guys walking around carrying way too much weight. They're either obese or morbidly obese. There's somewhere on the scale where they just are not fit. I mean, if you get out of the shower and you look down and you can't see your Johnson, you got weight to lose. And there's a lot of dudes in their 20s that need to fix that first. So that would be the number one thing that I would say is get your health right. And you have no excuse for it in your 20s, literally in your 20s. Most guys, even when I was growing up, our fitness regime, included eating a bag of Doritos, smoking a joint, pounding back a protein shake, and going to the gym. There's no reason why you cannot get fit in your 20s. Your metabolism can adapt to pretty much anything that you eat. You should be able to get fit. As far as money goes, I tell guys, and I get heat for this, I tell guys, you should aim to be a millionaire by the time you're 30. Having $1 million sounds like money to some people, or sounds like a lot of money to some people, but I really don't think they understand or even comprehend how little money $1 million is in today's world. And if you're a 20-year-old that's aiming to be a millionaire by the time you're 30, that's going to be even less significant in 10 years by the time you're 30.
Right.
So I tell guys, become a millionaire by the time you're 30. At the very least, hit it by the time you're 40. By the time you're 50, you should be a multimillionaire, right? So there's work to do there. So we had health goals, we had financial goals. What was the other one?
Dating, relationship goals by age 30.
Yeah, so I subscribe to the notion that men really shouldn't spend a lot of time in long-term committed relationships in their 20s. They should figure out what women are all about, date, probably not invite a woman into their life on a permanent basis. Definitely don't live with a woman in your 20s. And then by the time you're in your 30s, then you can start asking yourself questions like, do I want to have kids? Do I want to raise a family? Do I want to do this married? Do I not want to get married? Do I want to do this in North America? Is there somewhere else that I might want to do this? And sort of weigh out the risk factors and then sort of start planning for that. Ideally, if you want to have kids, I would say aim for mid 30s, likely. I mean, if you leave it too late, you're going to be an old father and you're going to have pretty low energy. So that's something that you sort of have to contemplate, as far as your dating goals. Some guys can go well into the 30s or 40s and do whatever they want. They'll just date a bunch of women, spin some plates. They'll be monogamous. They'll be non-monogamous. You can do whatever you want in the world. The whole point of unplugging from society's lies is to pick a path, follow it, and do what serves you.
Yeah, the last part you said definitely resonated with this
Which one?
42-year-old over here who's been living in South Beach for most of his life, spinning plates, making money, having fun. But, oftentimes it's the people closest to you, especially in your 30s, when you hit late 30s, the mother, the grandmother, the father, the cousin, the uncle.
When are you going to get married,
Adam, when are
Adam?
you going to get married? Adam, when are you going to do this? It's like, you have no idea how much fun I'm
settle
having.
down and have a family.
Exactly. It's like, you guys all look miserable out there. You're trying to tell me, bring me into misery? As they say, misery loves company. Richard, I'm going to give
agree
you
with that, actually.
slight agreement and slight pushback on something that you just said. So you said, obviously in your 20s, get in shape. I was that dude at like 27, 28 that was a little out of weight. And this is the problem with a lot of people is you make excuses. I would say things like, I don't trust someone who's 30 and has abs. What the hell kind of time do you have? You have abs at age 30? It's like, yeah, now I'm 42 and I'm working on I have abs now. Because it's just an excuse. It's like, well, I'm working. I'm too busy for abs. It's an excuse. So I fully agree with you that in your 20s, health is wealth, for sure. And then as far as like getting married, unless you're the anomaly, exception to the rule, don't even think about getting married by age 30. You might have a girlfriend, that's cool, I get it. Kind of got to understand women. Where I kind of want to give you a little bit of like, I don't know, how realistic is it for someone by age 30 to become a millionaire? Meaning, that should be a goal. Hell yeah, I became a millionaire at age 35. And it took me a lot of time, a lot of effort. But keep in mind, in my early 20s, I was bullshitting, wasting a lot of time. So we're in a full agreement that that should be a goal. I guess my question is, how realistic is it for a young man to become a millionaire by age 30 today?
I think it's entirely realistic, but why can't you pick bigger goals? That's the problem is, you're thinking anyway, so why not think bigger? Like, why are people setting small goals for themselves? Like, I want to be worth $100,000 by the time they're 30. $1 million is not that much money. It's not that hard to make, right? You're not going to make it if you're working at the local grocery store stocking shelves. Now, if you're clever and you go about your life in such a way where you're not goofing off with your late teens and your early 20s and you sort of set the groundwork for your life, you can go out there and build a business and make great money. I know lots of 30-year-olds that are millionaires.
This mindset you have it's like, you strike me as the type of dude that's like, yeah, thanks for the excuses, buddy. Get to work. That's the kind of guy that you remind me of. Is that something that you've always had? Or is that something that you needed to learn? And then follow up is, at what age did you become a millionaire?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I didn't hit it at 30. I probably hit it around 33, 34 or so. Like, when you hold yourself to higher standards, you will get greater results. Like, I don't follow the whole Tony Robbins rah, rah, rah sort of thing. But one of the things that he said that's always resonated with me is, if you want to get better results out of life, hold yourself to higher standards, hold the people around you to greater standards. And, if you set the bar in the sand here, then you're probably going to hit something around here. But if you set the bar in the sand up over here, you're going to do a lot better and have a better chance of getting to that. So holding yourself to higher standards is not that complicated of a thing to do. You just have to go and do it. It's like when I tell guys, like, why do you surround yourselves with losers? If you surround yourself with 5 fat, broke, dumb people that are doing nothing with their lives, you're going to be the 6th. Yeah. Unplug from that mess of losers that you hang out with and surround yourself with better people. Put yourselves in better rooms.
I fully agree with you, and 2 points that I'll give you credit on, which I fully agree with, Richard. It's that your network is your net worth, who you're surrounding 100%. Yourself with, and then setting loftier goals. So one of the best things that has happened in my life is 10 years ago, I met Patrick Bet-David, my CEO, business partner, friend, mentor, working out in the gym, ironically, at a financial conference. And Natalia's family has known Pat for 10 years. I think very highly of her family. She could speak to that. 2 things with that. He says you should set lofty goals and you should reach 80% of them. Why 80? Because if you reach 100% of them, your goals weren't lofty enough. You should kind of get crazy and be like, I agree. Holy shit, I can't believe I reached that. But if you reached 100%, it's like, well, maybe your goals weren't crazy enough, right? And then number 2, we had this conversation with the comedian Brian Callen yesterday, who's I'm a big fan of, great guy.
He's hilarious.
He said, Pat says, you talk about you are the accumulation of the 5 people you surround yourself with, right? And Pat goes, Yeah, is it really 5 or is it 1? Meaning, of the 5, is there one who really their words and their actions carry the most weight? And for me, that's Pat, right? Like I have a network of 5 people, but I'm so lucky to have a guy like Pat in my life, just like I'm sure there's a lot of young men that are counting their blessings. They have Richard Cooper in their life. So is it really 5 or is it 1 that kind of has the biggest influence over you?
Yeah, I think when you're younger, you probably spend time with different size groups. But again, I mean, the person you spend the most time with, you will probably become something like a carbon copy of what they're like. Or you take yourself and them, you kind of average yourselves out. That's where you're going to end up. That's why it's incredibly important to be discerning in your taste with friends that you surround yourself with, women that you decide to invite into your life. It's really important. And it's something that a lot of guys get wrong. They just, when it comes to women, it's the first girl that touches her pee-pee. Oh, she touches my pee-pee. I'm going to go get married to her now. It's like they have no experience and they have no idea what they're doing, right? You have to be discerning in your taste. And nobody tells kids this. This isn't something that they educate kids with in school. Most parents don't really do it because they never really did it themselves. That's where we're at today.
Yeah, of course. I wish they had a class. What should you do with the first girl that touches your pee-pee? Marry her.
Exactly.
No, do not do that. All right,
Wouldn't that be great?
That's great advice for young men by the age of 30. Let's take it a step further. Now, you're 32, you're 35, you've been working, you're making your money, you've dated women, you've kind of had some success. Now, all of a sudden, the weird age 40 is coming up, right? What advice do you have for guys in their 30s that they need to set goals by the time they reach 40? Where should they be in their life, in your opinion?
Okay, well, we've covered health and we've covered wealth. So what else is there that we want to cover as far as love?
Just money, life, and dating goals by 40. Same question, I guess, as the first time, but now you're 10 years older.
Well, I think health and wealth is pretty much universal given how society operates. And, your health is either going to be on point or it's going to be on the decline, right?
Yep.
As far as what you want to do with your love life, that really depends on what you want to do with your love life. There's guys that I know that have said, women aren't worth it. It's not worth my time to invest in this. So I'm just going to check out and do what I want. And that's fine. There's other guys that say that they want a family. There's other guys that just want to, run through a bunch of girls, and all of that's fine too. Decide what you want to do and then sort of set a plan and then guide yourself in the right direction. It's going to help you achieve the goals while minimizing risk in your life, especially if you're going to invite a woman in your life and try to raise a family. I have a chapter in my book about why smart men don't marry. So I'm not a fan of marriage, but some people want to have a family. So you have to sort of contemplate that. That seems to be the goal of most young men today still is got to go get married, got to have a family, right?
Yeah, I think, if you look at U.S. life expectancy from 1960, let's say, people were lucky to live to age 70. Lucky. Now, life expectancy in Western society, Western civilization, is late 70s, early 80s. And that's like basic. If you take good care of yourself, my grandma's 90. Our friend's grandfather that I was talking about earlier is 99. You could live to age 90, 100, no problem in today's society. So as far as marriage goes and these life goals, there used to be a point in your life where 40, that's midlife crisis time. Now, these days, some of my most fun friends are guys my age, late 30s, early 40s, millions in the bank, spinning plates like crazy, living in Miami, vacationing in the summer. It's just a different lifestyle these days with modern medicine, the internet, global sexual marketplace. You could still have a lot of fun in your 40s is what I'm saying. You're no longer an old man.
Oh, yeah.
Nat jokes that I'm getting a little gray. You've got a great beard.
I like
but
it.
gray's kind of sexy. No, Nat?
Gray is. I like gray.
What do you think about Richard's beard right there?
I was thinking about that when we first saw it.
Yeah, you can't stop thinking about it. I know.
I like the gray. I think gray shows a little bit of your wiseness. But that's always confirmed once they open their mouth,
Yeah, sometimes. I think that's great advice for men in their 30s and reaching 40. I'm going to flip it just a little bit. I know that, you and I are not women. I know it's easy to identify as women these days.
Yikes.
Natalia's a woman. If I can, give the ladies some advice, maybe goals that women should look out for by the time they're 30 and by the time they're 40 in your experience.
All right. Well, women are a different conversation, my friend.
I know.
That was a big deep breath.
We need a different show for this one.
Yeah.
Again, so, if I was giving advice to my daughter, it would be to preserve her femininity and her beauty. Men are success objects. They always have been to women, and women are beauty/sex objects to men. They always have been to men. So now that doesn't really comply with the narrative with society today, because women have been told for decades now, you don't need no man. A woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle, blah, blah, blah. Climb the corporate ladder, get degrees, frame them in mahogany with little letters after your name, and go chase excellence. And then by the time they get to 40, they're wondering where all the good guys are, and their eggs are drying up and they're starting to freak out. It even happens by the time they're getting close to 30, if we're being honest. So I think women sort of, I hate to say it, but they don't pay much attention to this stuff, because women kind of have a free ride. Because when you're young and you're beautiful, everybody gives you attention.
Yep. Even
when you're older, there's lots of 30, 40, 50-year-old women today that get loads of attention from guys if they're even half decent looking. So they don't need to contemplate these things. Most of the time when women ask me this question, it's because they're past their prime and they're late 30s, early 40s, sometimes 50s, and they're asking for help. And it's like, I don't have a time machine. What we need to do is put you in a time machine back to when you're 20 and talk about not running through 100 guys, not partying, not wasting your youth, getting different degrees, climbing the corporate ladder if your goal was to have a family. For some women, they might just say, never want to have a family. I'm not fertile. I'm never going to be fertile. So I just want to chase excellence. So you kind of, sort of the same sort of conversation that, we're talking about with guys. They have to get serious about the path they're on. I don't think men or women take much time or consideration planning their life path.
Yeah, I think it's such a powerful point, because I'm at the phase of my life where I know a lot of women in their late 30s, early 40s that I've grown up with, right? And some of these women were the hottest girls in school, and now they're single, right? And I'm also at the phase of my life where I still hang out with women in their 20s, right? Just kind of out there. And
Terrible life.
Yeah, living in South Beach, going to nightlife, 20-year-olds. You
Horrible.
don't want this life, Richard. I'm telling you, this ain't for the weak of heart.
Hang your head in shame.
Exactly. So, there's this whole debate these days of like, are men and women the same? Are we different? Are we equal?
No.
Are we not? I don't think there's any doubt that men and women are quote unquote equal. But I will say we are definitely different. And one of the most poignant examples of that is what I think is that a man can afford the luxury of BSing his way through his 20s. Make some mistakes, sleep with the wrong girl, date with the wrong girl, take the wrong job, this, that, the other. Next thing you know, you're 27, you're 28, you're 32. You still have time to recover. A woman does not have that luxury, biologically speaking. A woman who messes around with the wrong relationship, wrong job, wrong career, they go to school. Next thing you know, they're 27, they're 29, they're 33. Next thing you know, they're 35, they can't necessarily have babies anymore. And everything, whether it's a man or a woman, it comes down to who do you want to be? And I think that 80% of men and women, this is my opinion, no stats to back this up, I think that the majority of men and women do want to have someone in their life and do want to have kids, whether that's getting married under the government or not. I think that most men and women do want to have someone in their life, and especially women want to have kids. So to your point, you can't go back into a time machine when you're 34, when you're 37, you're 42. All you can do is learn from people that are older than you and learn from their mistakes. So whether it's a podcast like this or whether it's asking a woman, who's 40 years old, be like, are you happy with your life? Women really have to kind of make these decisions a lot sooner than men and value who they're dating a lot sooner than what men are doing. Like let's just say in your 40s, late 40s, good looking man, what experience have you seen with women in their 40s saying, Richard, I wish I would have met you 10 years ago, 5 years ago. I wish I would have heard this before. What experience do you have from women in that regard?
Well, Cyndi Lauper covered it. Girls just want to have fun. They just, they've spent their 20s and they're sometimes even a good part of their 30s just having fun.
Yep.
And they don't think about these consequences. And why would they? They've been told to go have fun. They've been told to be promiscuous. They've been told to behave like men. They've been told to get degrees and climb corporate ladders. They've been told to put off having a family. They've been told freeze your eggs. They've been told we've got science that can fix all of this, right? So why wouldn't they just go and have fun, right?
Yeah, by the way, this strikes a major chord with me. This girls just want to have fun. Because my whole thing is, you're familiar with the KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid, just break down things and just simplify them. So I've simplified what I call the circle of life. And I should probably do a visualization of this. But in my opinion, there's 4 phases of life, right? Hear me out. So at the top of the list is guys want girls. Men just want women. Girls, step 2, girls just want to have fun, right? Like you just said, Cyndi Lauper, girls just want to have fun. You go to any club, Cyndi Lauper comes on, girls stop what they're doing, congregate, dance. Girls just want to have, we've all seen it before. We've all lived that life.
You go, girl.
Now here's the funny thing about fun. Fun costs money. This is number 3. Fun costs money. Whether it's a date, whether it's a trip, whether it's a vacation, hell, whether it's a picnic, you still need to bring things to the picnic. Correct. Okay, you got to put shit in the picnic basket, okay? So fun costs money. And this leads me to number 4. Men need to make money. Men need to make money so they can afford the fun. Now you might ask yourself, how does this become the circle of life? Well, because at the other end of the circle, why do men need to make money? Because we go back to number 1, because guys just want girls. And they're circle of life right there, because guys want girls, girls just want fun, fun costs money, men need to make money because guys want girls. So your answer couldn't be more appropriate. Let me transition
Adam, every single guy that I know that's in their 50s or 60s, that's a multi-billionaire, they've got tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. They all say the same thing. I wish I had more of this money when I was younger. Again, this is why I'm telling guys, chase excellence, not women. Aim to be a millionaire by the time you're 30, right?
What's the famous quote?
Get as close as you can.
The famous quote, what is it? Youth is wasted on the young. What is that?
Yeah, it is.
But isn't there
blow through it quick.
There's also like a little bit of, I would say, bad to that, because I feel like if you give men, or they have access to money at such a young age, there is also a higher chance that they waste it on things like that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, like those women who just want to have fun, they're not really long-term women. So I think essentially, even though men are making money, maybe a little bit later, I think they become a little bit more mature and wiser, so that the money becomes a little bit more like valued and not wasted on some of those girls who just want to have fun.
Well, there's a famous quote
Well, I think
out there.
when it comes to money, and from my experience in my debt business, that men are more prudent with the financial resources than women are.
Right, but don't you think women also can be a little bit more persuasive for men to spend that money?
Oh, women are very good at extracting resources from men, let's be honest. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the what's the famous quote regarding money is that a man with money meets a man with experience. The man with the money walks away with an experience. The man with experience walks away with the money.
Oh.
There ended the lesson. There you go, right there.
There you go. I like
By the way, can I borrow $20 from you real quick?
Yeah, let me just.
Yeah, okay, that never happens. Okay, that never happens. All
Yeah.
right, so chase excellence, not women. This is a theme that is pervasive in the manosphere and the red pill community. Fully advocate that. What does that actually mean to you? Because the reason I ask that is because it's so easy to say chase excellence, not women. Agreed. But I guess what's the balance with that? It's like when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, 24, 25, 42, I want a chick in my life. I want to get laid. I want to get paid. I want to get laid. So how do you balance the chasing the excellence, but also having women in your life?
Well, women sort of come as a byproduct when you're a top shelf guy, aren't you? Right? I mean, when you can make money, when you can make it rain, when you're a competent guy, when you're skilled in life, you now also have status, which we also know women really like a lot. And you're also captivating, generally speaking, right? Because now you do interesting things. You're not sitting on your lawn chair on the front porch. You're on your 50-foot yacht. You're in your private plane. You're, like you're traveling, like you're doing cool stuff. So chasing excellence kind of deals with a lot of the gal problems. I'm not saying it solves it. Like you still need to understand game. You still have to unplug from the bullshit and the matrix and all that sort of stuff. But it solves a good part of it. And having money, like you can apply money to a lot of problems in your life and fix them if you know what you're doing.
That's true. Last couple money questions, and we'll transition to more relationship and dating stuff, which I know you have strong opinions on. What's the best money advice that you've ever received, Richard Cooper?
And from who?
Good question. Best money advice I ever received was,
Don't tell me I stumped you on this question.
No, you stumped me on this one.
Oh, nice.
Because I'm trying to think which piece of advice I like the best. You know what? I'm going to go with what my old man said. He said, love people, not money. Never do it the other way around.
I love
Not
that.
love money and fuck people.
Yeah.
No, Adam.
That's what most people do. They do it the other way around.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, there's a famous phrase, FBGM. You know what that stands for?
No.
FB, tell me.
Fuck bitches, get money.
Yes.
Okay,
It's out there.
sure.
Big Pop said that, I believe, at one point. Career advice. You said unplugging from the matrix. I assume you're not a fan of traditional 9-to-5s. We have a lot of entrepreneurs that watch our channel, watch your channel. I made my money in financial sales. I haven't worked a 9-to-5 in forever. There's a lot of people out there with side hustles, the gig economy. What's your advice for just the average young man out there getting a job in the workforce that's trying to unplug, make money, but at the same time balance their life so they actually have a job and they're not broke just doing side hustles their whole life?
Gotcha. Yeah, this is a wheelhouse I spend a lot of time in. I have a course right now, the School of Entrepreneurship as well, too. So there's really 6 paths to serious wealth. The first is a C-suite job. CEO, CTO, CFO. You're going to have to work your way up. There's very few of those. It's like a pyramid. There's a lot of people at the bottom and there's only a handful of people at the top. So the chances you get there exist, but they're more remote. The second way is a professional designation, doctor, lawyer, accountant, something where you go to school for several years, you get your degree, you're now a board certified surgeon and you're in demand, go make, loads of money. Actor, musician, or influencer would be the third one. Look, if you're an influencer with 10 million followers, like there's a reason why Dan Bilzerian's able to fly around the world. He's got gorgeous gals with him all the time and he's selling vape pens or weed or whatever it is that he's doing. Having an audience is powerful. So whether you're a musician or an actor, you make a lot of money. High-end sales. This is one that gets away from a lot of people because most guys go into sales, they're doing something basic. They're knocking on doors, they're selling, plans to get your driveway resealed or something like that. If you're going to sell, it's almost the same amount of work. Why not sell high-end stuff with a higher commission rate? High-end real estate, yachts, private jets, expensive cars. That's the kind of stuff that I would recommend. The next would be something in STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. Most people know about this. A lot of these jobs pay very well. I've got a few guys in my community that are part of the FANG companies. They'll make $800,000-$900,000 a year. They get paid very, very well. And the last, and my favorite, is entrepreneurship because it offers you the most flexibility and freedom. We saw what happened over the last couple of years with the scamdemic, where they made people take experimental jabs. They made people stand on dots and wear face diapers. I did none of that. Okay, there were people that were messaging me, losing their fucking mind. I'm going to get fired if I don't do this. I have a family to feed. What do I do, Rich? Da, 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 da. It's like, what do you want me to tell you? You signed up for working for somebody else. Like, this is the way things go when you sign up for that. So those would be the main ways to make serious money.
Yeah, I actually had to kind of figure that out. Every man has to figure that out for sure in their life. And I was going down the path of the designation. I was going to almost go to law school. Which is kind of an obligatory conversation you have to have yourself as a Jewish young man is like, do I go to law school or med school? That whole thing, because it's your mom's in your ear. And I realized that I don't like the sight of blood and I fucking barely like reading boring stuff. So law school wasn't for me. So I got into sales. And the problem that I had is my first job, I worked for Clear Channel, which is now iHeartMedia, and I was selling airtime. And I fully agree with what you're saying is like, if I could just apply the skills that I'm learning how to sell radio spots, let me extrapolate that and learn how to sell big ticket items or more expensive exotic financial products. It's the same work. It's the same amount of time. It's the same skill set you have to develop as a salesperson, but you can make 10 times the money. So when I went from making maybe 50, 100 grand at a best case scenario selling airtime, and all of a sudden I'm making $250,000, $500,000, if not more, doing financial sales, it's the exact same, work ethic, but just the commissions are that much higher. So totally understand that.
That's the thing that most guys don't realize is that a job is an acronym, and it's an acronym for just over broke. A salary is a drug that they give you to get you to forget about your dreams. I think this is Kevin O'Leary's words, right? you will not achieve extreme wealth getting up in the morning, doing everything that 90% of the population does, punching your clock, doing your job, coming home and repeating it, and then taking your 2 weeks vacation or 4 weeks vacation or whatever it is that you happen to get. That's just the way the world works.
Yeah, well said. Just over broke. Shit.
That's how they get you, right?
That's how they get you. Damn plugged in matrix son of a.
Tools of the matrix. Go out and
Tools of
take
the
on the debt. Take the car loans. Get the mortgage. Shut up and go to work and pay your
Shut
taxes.
up and go to work. So, speaking of the matrix, speaking of what a man needs to do, I kind of want to talk about this concept of masculinity, toxic masculinity, and the face, quote unquote. I don't know if you could see me, air quotes, of toxic masculinity. A man we have both interviewed is Andrew Tate. So, what was your experience like interviewing Andrew Tate? Because I think you were one of the last few people that interviewed him right before the Matrix brought him down and, in my opinion, fraudulently arrested him for alleged crimes. We say alleged. What was your biggest experience or biggest takeaway interviewing Tate?
Well, I really like Andrew. I mean, I came across him 2017. I wasn't too sure about him at that time. He was kind of like, yeah, you know, and he knows this, you know, I've had this conversation with him, but I like him for different reasons than other people like him. Like most guys sort of look up to him. They sort of worship him sort of thing. He's a top G, blah, blah, blah. But I find him hilarious. I think he's got a fantastic sense of humor. If you haven't watched him interviewed on Your Mom's House with Tom Segura, watch it. You'll be laughing
hilarious.
your face off.
Especially the way he interacted with Tom's wife.
Exactly. Yeah.
Amazing.
And he's a huge car guy. Like all of my private conversations with him are mostly around cars, exotic cars, doing rallies, getting together, doing something at some point, you know, in that space. So, I don't know what's going on in Romania. I haven't seen the evidence. It seems like a witch hunt. Like who knows how it's going to end, but I guess we'll find out. What is it? It's the 20th. So we'll find out in the next 10 days, you know, what the deal is.
Yeah. By the way, witch hunt is a perfect terminology for that. By the way, I have this question right here, and it's, what color is your Bugatti, Rich Cooper?
I don't have a Bugatti, but I have a McLaren, and it's great.
I like McLaren.
I knew that.
Nice.
He's like, sorry about the Bugatti, the McLaren. I've actually seen you do a clip of.
I actually asked him what color is the Bugatti, but I don't think he knew the paint code.
It's like an off orange bronze, but I've actually seen you.
It's like a copper orange.
Imitate, whether it's Tate or whether it was, you know, your own spin on it. You said, what color is your McLaren? And then you're like, oh, by the way, I'm with 50 other dudes that have McLarens as well. Your network is your net worth. Surround yourself with powerful people. That was pretty impressive. I like that. What do you think? So speaking of the masculinity, what do you think is hurting young men the most these days that's limiting their masculinity?
Oh, man, there's a lot. You know, I did a podcast the other day with Dr. Anthony J. He wrote this interesting book called Estrogeneration. He kind of goes down all of these sources of environmental estrogens that are lowering men's testosterone levels and increasing estrogen levels. And the subtitle of his book is Why You're Fat, Sick, and Infertile Today, sort of thing. So that's one of the most interesting components. Like we were kind of getting in the weeds and we were talking about water. And, you know, it got to the point that a lot of source of environmental estrogens comes from city water lines, because women are mostly on birth control. They pee that into the sewage system. Sewage systems can clean out large particles, but it can't clear out hormones. So there's estrogens in the water. And if you're drinking tap water, you're now drinking estrogens. So I said to him, I go, do they know that this is in the water? And he said, yeah, they know. I've visited these places. You know, we've talked about it. They know there's estrogens in the water. So the government knows that there's estrogenics in the water and that it is softening society. Is it intentional? I don't know. You know, let's put on a tinfoil hat. We can go down for a road trip on that one. Wow. But there's lots of things that are softening men. I think guys aren't taking ownership for their lives. They've been told, you know, to just basically comply. You know, do what everybody's told you to do. Just be a nice guy, go to school, get a job, you know, do the right thing. By the way, they tell men and women different things. They tell guys, you know, do the right thing. They tell women, you do what's right for you, girl, right? Mm-hmm. So guys get this narrative that's been beaten into them pretty much their entire lives, where they've been softened. And it's no wonder why you see so many guys right now walking around in their 20s with female breast tissue. Like they are just soft, round versions of men that, you know, their grandfathers would be rolling in their grave if they knew about it, right?
Wow.
What's your experience with doing these soft men, Nat?
I've come across a few. I mean, I'll be honest, like as a woman, when you meet that, like I could see why women find that comforting, because sometimes those manly men can be a little bit aggressive to women. So that's why that type of soft man is almost embraced by women.
Yeah, but those soft men end up in the friend zone.
Right, exactly. Right. Yeah. Those soft men have.
So you want to give them a hug, you're not trying to fuck them though.
Well, I don't do that. But,
okay.
But yes, you wouldn't. I wouldn't look at them in a way of marriage.
Birth control too, though, right?
Say that again.
Because when women are on hormonal birth control, they like softer guys. Right. So one of the problems that women end up with when they get married is, okay, maybe they're on hormonal birth control, dating the guy leading up to the marriage. They like him. You know, Tim's a nice, soft guy. He buys her flowers, texts her in the morning. Hey, babe, how you doing? Sort of thing. And then she comes off hormonal birth control when they get married. Maybe she gets knocked up. Maybe she doesn't. But a lot of women, after they get married and they come off birth control, they realize, I don't really like this guy so much. I kind of like the alpha guy over there.
Yikes.
Oh, look, there's Kevin in sales. Let's go talk to him.
Kevin in sales.
Shout out to Kevin.
Yeah.
Tapping everyone's girlfriend.
I stay away from those things because I know those things it's like manually moving your hormones. And like, I even have issues taking like Advil just because you don't really know necessarily like what's going on inside of those pills. So I stay away from them.
I guess the next question is, Richard, how can you balance being a traditional man but dealing with modern women today? Because it's not like we can go back in time and reinvent women and be like, all right, I want you to be more feminine and more friendly and fit and all the good stuff that we're used to, how we want women to be. We're dealing with modern women today. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, we can address. But we are dealing with women of today. How can a traditional alpha man or even just a normal man balance living their life and dealing with modern women?
Oh man, that's a long conversation. 2 weeks, 2 hours on
I
that.
wish we had more time.
Are you talking about a
hour.
traditional man in the sense of like the tradcon avatar, kind of like a Matt Walsh sort of guy?
No, like just a guy like you and me. We're out there, you know. We're making money.
Well, guys like you and me understand the way things work, my friend. Right? Like we've unplugged from the matrix, sort of thing. So, you know, for guys like you and me, it's okay. Well, let's not invite chaos into our life. Stay away from women with loads of red flags, with daddy issues. It's been run through by a bunch of guys covered in tattoos. Like, you know, these are things that we are smart enough to look for, so we don't complicate our lives unnecessarily. But I mean, a lot of the times, like I'll give a guy my book or I'll just say, hey, you know, opt into my email list and get the 20 red flag chapter, and they get mad. It's like, well, there's no women if we just, you know, like if I have to vet them all with these 20 here, then I'm never going to get a girl, Rich. Okay, well, that's the reality of society today. The reason why I give you these tools is so that you can see them for what they are, understand them, and then, you know, adapt accordingly. But what they don't seem to understand is, well, if that's all that you see, then that's all that you are worth. Do more work on yourself, become more competent, you know, learn more about game, learn more about, you know, whatever it is that you got to sort of fix in your life. Maybe you're boring as shit. I don't know. But if all you see is 20 red flags in every single woman that you talk to, there's something wrong with you. I'm in an LTR. My gal's great. There's lots of women out there that don't have red flags. Do the work on yourself and they will become available to you.
Yeah, speaking of being boring as shit, what's the famous phrase or quote? I've heard you say this before about being boring and how women perceive boring men.
You can do anything to women except bore them, right?
Exactly.
Like you have to be captivating as a man, right? Like when you've got money, then I would assume that you're doing cool shit. I mean, there's a absurd number of guys that are weapons in business. They've built incredible businesses. They make lots of money, but it's like, you know, well, what do you do for fun? I like watching Netflix series. Really? Like that's what you do for fun? Like you don't travel, you don't have a boat, you don't like planes, you don't like fast cars, like you don't do anything interesting that you can say, hey babe, you know, we're going on a supercar rally for the afternoon down to the winery. You want to come in my McLaren? Oh yeah, like women like that kind of stuff. Be interesting. It's not that difficult.
Yeah,
that is
true.
true.
If she asks, well, Richard, I'll go, but what color is your McLaren before I go? That's a red flag right there. It's like, just get in the fucking McLaren. Shut your mouth. So maybe a better question is, how can men vet women better? Because, listen, full disclosure, I'm not a car guy. I don't have hobbies. I'm not doing rock climbing. I'm not going mountain climbing. I live in South Beach. I don't go surfing. I don't collect baseball cards. I like to do 3 things. I like to hang out with my homies. I like to make money and do shit. And I like to hang out with hot chicks. Period. End of story. You now know Soz. So men have a weakness for pretty women, no doubt. Whether they're, right for you or wrong for you, men have this weakness. This is how civilization continues to prevail, is because men have babies and children. So I guess my question when it comes to vetting women, what women should men steer clear of no matter what, especially in a long-term relationship? And if you do want a long-term relationship, what type of women should you pursue or run towards in your life? So who should you avoid and who should you go towards as a man?
I would recommend avoiding any of the women that have a load of red flags that aren't being worked on. So if you don't know what the red flags are, it's in my book. You don't have to get the book. You can opt into my email list and get it for free. Just go to my channel and it's there. Or maybe the admin team can put it below in the video. Sure. So that's really what you should be vetting for. But let's say, for example, she's the kind of gal that has like an addictive personality to shopping. And she realizes that she has a shopping addiction. She likes going and buying 3 lamps. She brings them home, tries them out beside the bedside table. They don't work out, so she has to return them. And this is what she does with her weekends. Well, if she recognizes that that's a problem and that she has an addictive personality and it takes care of her free time and she's doing something about it, that's good. Okay. It's a red flag that she's identified, but now she's taking ownership for it and she's doing something for it. Okay. So just having the red flag may not be a complete deal breaker. I mean, a deal breaker would be she's covered from head to toe in tattoos. Okay. There's not much that you can do about that, for example, but some of the red flags are fixable if they take ownership for it. The second part to that was you were saying what kind of women to invite into your life?
So like any girls with tattoos, high body counts, addictive personalities, shopaholics, materialistic. My favorite is high maintenance women. Stay the fuck away from those women, gentlemen. So
you
we
can't
know
handle
what
me,
to avoid.
Adam.
What's that?
You can't handle me, gals, right, Adam?
Maybe you're not
Those
man
ones?
enough for me, Richard. That whole deal. So we know who to avoid. What type of women should a man gravitate towards, or at least pull into their gravitational world?
Well, I think if you vet for the red flags, you're going to be left with a far better pool of women to choose from, right? And, then you want to look for women that are more agreeable. They're going to be a complement to your life. Like if you're a man on a purpose, you're on a mission, you're doing something, you're putting a dent in the universe. And if I text my girl and she's heading over and I say, hey, can you grab a bottle of wine, dinner will be ready, or, I got dinner ordered, it's going to be here at a certain time. And she picks up a bottle of wine, or she asks, which one do I want, sort of thing. Or like, she's compliant, like she's helpful, right? She sees that, laundry needs to be done. And she's, oh, okay, let me take care of that. I'll throw the load in the machine and give you a hand, sort of thing. Like women that are useful in your life are a far better choice than women that are like, well, I'm not going to do anything. I don't cook. Okay. To me, that would be a red flag, a woman that's not owning her feminine frame. There's a buddy of mine that I've known for a long time, and he calls these blue jobs and pink jobs. And he says one of the reasons why his marriage is so successful is his wife does the pink jobs and he does the blue jobs. She's not out cutting the grass. She's in the kitchen preparing dinner for the family while he cuts the grass, sort of thing, right? So, if you identify these more traditional roles that sort of serve with what we're interested in, what we're good at, then that's a woman that you might want to consider saying, oh, she looks like she might be good mother stock.
Yeah, I think, we're identifying, vetting women and identifying the type of women that you should steer clear of and the women that you should avoid versus the women that you should have in your life. The more and more I think about this kind of stuff, this is a financial podcast that really highlights how money affects dating, relationships, who you marry, all that fun stuff. The more and more I have these conversations with bright, philosophers like yourself, the more I realize that like the same terminology in money also applies to dating. As example, you want a woman in your life who is an asset, not a liability, right? And that's a lot of times what these red flags in women is. They create chaos in your life. They become a liability versus someone who's useful, willing to do the pink jobs, so to speak, while you can do the blue jobs. And she's an asset in your life, and that's how you can grow your kingdom. We got about 20 minutes left with the great Richard Cooper. So I want to address a couple more things. By the way, real quick, staying on this, women, have you ever done anything with Coach Greg Adams, by the way?
No.
Okay, great dude. Some guy that, one of the things that he said to me is that you got to protect your meat. Have you ever heard this? Your money, your energy, your attention, and your time. That's kind of his thing. Women, especially these days, are getting a lot of attention and validation from men on social media, whether it's Instagram or TikTok or even OnlyFans. And some of these girls, as you'll, I'm sure, admit, Richard, they look good, brother. They look real good. Okay, they got, you know, not the traditional sense of good,
heart,
as Dave Chappelle likes to say. I'm talking good, like they're wearing a turtleneck and the titties are popping out. Like they're good. The dress is half up. I can't steal Chappelle's joke, but some of these women are ridiculously hot, especially on Instagram. What are this is a major red flag, but what's your advice on men pursuing women with 1 million followers on Instagram, or that are doing the booty pics on TikTok? What's your advice for men in regarding these types of clout chasers and Instagram tottery out there?
Well, they're simps. I mean, there's no way around it. If there's an unfair exchange, because attention is the coin of the realm for women, she's getting free unlimited attention from all these guys, then what does he get in return? Now, this is where guys start to sign up for things like OnlyFans, or they subscribe to some Amazon wish list or some garbage like that. But they're simps. I mean, I don't follow any thoughts on any social media platforms. I don't DM them. I don't message them. Like, why? You know, for what? It doesn't make any sense to me. But I understand, like, they're thirsty for beautiful women, and there's lots of beautiful women out on these platforms, and they sell, you know, they sell like sex sells. It's always sold, right? And the younger you are, the healthier you are, the more you're going to be interested in that. You're never going to get away from that. I mean, I wouldn't touch a woman that had a prolific social media account with a 10-foot pole. I mean, look, maybe if she's a social media fitness influencer, and that's what she's always done her entire life, and she's a total compliment to my life and has none of the red flags sort of thing, then I might let her, maybe. But for the most part, I wouldn't deal with a woman that's got a public social media. You know, it's got to be private, or non-existent,
or non-existent. Yeah, that's some of the problems.
Those are the better girls, right?
What's that?
Those are always the better girls, the girls with either private or non-existent social media profiles.
You know, Richard, I'm learning that the hard way, my friend. Let's just leave it there. Some of these girls out there, they'll get you.
They'll get you there.
But, you know,
Rich will get you
there's
there, right?
reciprocity, though. It's not like I'm not getting a message back, so to speak. Last couple things here. This has gone way quicker than I would have liked. One of the you know, everyone has their introduction to the red pill or the manosphere. And for me, that started with, well, unbeknownst to me, because I think I've been experiencing this and knowing this, just working in the Miami nightlife in my 20s, I very much understood what rolling up to a club with 3 of your buddies was versus rolling with 3 girls. So underlying, I understood this. But where I kind of like entered the manosphere space was probably in 2020, and Patrick Bet-David gave me a book that he didn't want to read, ironically, and it was basically the premise was hypergamy and understanding hypergamy and the act of dating up. And I know this is something that you're very well equipped to discuss. So I've heard you say in no uncertain terms that essentially intersexual dynamics and everything they talk about in the red pill space, hypergamy, is just understanding and accepting female nature, and you had to learn the hard way that women are not sugar and spice and everything nice, and 80% of women are going after the top 20 guys. So in your opinion, what should men fully understand about hypergamy and female nature?
Well, hypergamy is a straightforward concept. It's just that all that it really means is that women date across and up on the socioeconomic scale. So they want the best guy that they can possibly get. So if she's waking up every morning and she's looking at you, Adam, and she's like, oh, I love this guy. He's the best I can do. He's so hot. He takes care of the family. He's such a great, you know, whatever. Then Kevin in sales has no effect on her whatsoever. The guy's invisible. Most men are practically invisible to a woman that's pair bonded in a healthy way to a guy that she sees as her hypergamous best option. This is where a lot of the guys, you know, go completely wrong, because they're like, oh, women are hypergamous, they'll never be loyal to you, blah blah blah. It's pointless. No, if she's pair bonded with her best option, most guys are practically invisible to her, right? So
What is pair
it's
bond?
a pretty straightforward concept.
Just to be clear, what is pair bond? How would you define that?
Well, you're not going to be able to get a woman to pair bond with you that's been through 100 guys. Let's be honest. I mean, the data is very, very clear on it. The more promiscuous a woman has been, the more guys that she's with, the less likely she is to be happy in a marriage or stay in a marriage over a long-term basis. So, yeah, you want to deal with women with very low to no notch counts, obviously. So there's that. As far as other virtues of women, sorry, what was the second half of the question?
No, just understanding hypergamy and female nature, all encompassing.
Yeah, I think it's understanding / accepting, because a lot of guys will understand and then they'll just go into a rage, phase, and they never really come out of it. And it's like, okay, well, I understand that if I don't continue to chase excellence in my life and I get fat, lazy, incompetent, I don't make money anymore, I'm not able to pay, bills, or, they come and repossess my house, or, something like that, my gal will probably bounce, right? She'll have tolerance for only so long, and then at some point she'll probably bounce. And that's just accepting what female nature really is. Another thing that you can accept as a guy is a woman's solipsism. And all that really means is she can never see a man struggle. She can never see a man's life or understand a man's life. This is one of the things that, the manoswamp tends to get terribly wrong. I don't call it the manosphere anymore. I call it the manoswamp because it's a bit of a train wreck. But there's a lot of gals in the manoswamp that are holding out to the public that, they understand the plight of men, but they can't possibly understand the plight of men. Unless you've got a penis and male levels of testosterone and are a man, you'll never understand the stuff that guys do or have to put up with in a long-term relationship.
Yeah. By the way, real quick, why do you call it the manoswamp? I've never heard that. You said it's kind of screwed up these days. Used to be known as the manosphere. Now it's the manoswamp. Why is that?
Well, look, the problem with the manoswamp is there's not a lot of good men that are in the manoswamp. There's not a lot of men that are good at being men, and there's not a lot of good men in the manoswamp. That's why you don't see me associate with much of it anymore.
Gotcha. Well, I'm honored that you're associating with us here on Valuetainment at Soscast. So I'll take that as a compliment. But I understand it's easy.
Well, I have a lot of respect for Patrick Bet-David. So the fact that you're in his inner circle has me look at you that way.
Thank you.
Wow.
Reputation precedes power of association.
Yes.
Respect.
Exactly.
Thank you. You've often said that women will break rules for alphas, but make rules for betas. I guess two-part question.
Correct.
How does a man know if he's an alpha or a beta? And give me some examples of the rules that they'll make and break for certain type of men.
A man will know. There's no question about it. And you don't get to decide. You don't get to state, I'm an alpha male or anything like that. You just know, because women sort of treat you that way. So, when I say something like women break rules for alpha males and they make them for betas, again, this isn't me. This is just a concept that I've learned, paying attention to what goes on out there and watching, how men and women interact. And of course, what I learned spending time in the manoswamp. But so for example, what's an example of a woman breaking a rule for an alpha male? If a woman says, I don't do that, then you add with you at the end of it, because she will do it for a guy that she deems as a high value alpha male. She can't afford to miss an opportunity to be with a high status, high value guy, right? So, if a guy on a second date's like, well, he invites her over and he wants to have sex with her, and she says something like, well, I don't do that on the second date. I have an 8-date rule sort of thing. I wrote about this in my book. I have an 8-date rule sort of thing. Well, that'll go out the window real quick if she sees you as an alpha male, because she can't afford to let you go. She can't afford to let somebody else get you.
Yeah, let David Beckham walk in the room, and she's all of a sudden at 8 dates. So just went to 8 minutes. Oh, it's just I've never done that before.
Let Machine Gun Kelly walk into a room with one of these young gals that adores a guy like that, and it's less than 5-10 minutes. She'll be all over him like a fat kid on cake.
I love it like a fat kid loves cake. All right, last 5-10 minutes. I know that you got to get running, but I'm really enjoying this. I want to get your concept on marriage, Richard, because you've said you've been married, divorced. I heard you said that men should not marry down, right? They should find women at their level, and this is kind of, I guess, counterintuitive, to hypergamy, because women date across and up. Men tend to date lesser on the socioeconomic hierarchical chart, and versus more focus on beauty. So I guess, how much do you believe in marriage? What age should men get married? And who should men look to marry in the socioeconomic stratosphere?
Yeah, let me deal with that question about hypergamy and what level to sort of date at. So I made this video a couple of years ago because a lot of guys were asking me questions about getting married in places that are hostile towards men. And like in Canada, you know, for example, if you get married to somebody that's about at your level, then if you get divorced, then you're not going to have to deal with alimony because you kind of both make the same income. So there's no equalization payments to make there. Also, if you have shared custody, then no money flows back and forth to either parent for, you know, taking care of the kid. It's like, you know, you can stand on your feet and he can stand on his feet, and you sort of just, you know, deal with things that way. So it's a bit of a buffer or an insurance policy, if you will. If you live in a place where rules are a little more hostile towards fathers, that's why I made that recommendation to don't date too far down, because you're the guy making $250,000 a year as a senior accountant in the firm, and you wife up Becky, the hairdresser, who's making $40,000 a year. If things go sideways, you know, 5-10 years down the road, and she wants to untie the knot, you're going to be in for a world of hurt, you know, for being honest. So there's that part to deal with. The other components of marriage, you were asking who should get married, or?
Yeah, well, I will ask the second part, but so just to stay on the example you gave, if you're making $250,000 and you married the hairdresser making 40, I mean, how many women out there are making $250,000, and how much would you even be attracted to those type of women?
Well, look, I've dated women that make that kind of money, and they're not attractive. It's like, you know, dealing with a dude. It's like dealing with a dude with boobies. Like, you know, for being honest, they act very masculine. They tend to be very masculine. They're not in their feminine whatsoever. Like, they're not even close to it. I don't find them attractive whatsoever. So there's certain guys that kind of like that avatar. But I think when you get to the point where you don't need money, then, because women don't share their pot of gold with men, right? Like, we know this. Like, men are more than willing to improve a woman's life and invite them into it. And a rich man will change a broke woman's life, but a broke woman will never look the way of a poor man. Or sorry, a rich woman would never look the way of a poor man, right? So, you know, we operate very, very differently, you know, from that regard.
I think 50 Cent famously once said, "Have a baby by me, be a millionaire." You know that song?
Yes.
But yeah, no woman says, "I'll have your baby and I'll make you a millionaire, buddy." That like does not happen.
Yeah.
So
women are not kingmakers. They want to be with a king.
But they give birth to them.
That's true. But who was it? Patrice O'Neill, famous quote. He said, you know, a king marries a woman. She's the queen now, right?
Yeah.
But the queen marries a dude. He's not the king. It's just the queen's husband.
Nice.
And that, my friends, is a metaphor for life.
Prince Philip is a perfect example.
Prince Philip.
Yes.
It's true.
Yeah.
So overall recommendation when getting married, meaning there's a lot of things you can do. So prenups, right? Understanding the courts. A lot of men are traveling abroad, getting out of Western societies, going to whether it's Colombia or Thailand or, you know,
yeah,
Philippines.
These passport bros, though, they do it completely wrong. Like, they think leaving the West is going to solve their problems, but if you're still a plugged-in beta male and you go to Colombia, you're still going to get destroyed, right? You have to understand women. I mean, if you're going to be a passport bro, make sure you've unplugged and you're red pilled when you go to that next country, and you don't bring them back over here where the laws are hostile. You stay over there.
So because I know a lot of guys that do that or are considering that. Keep in mind, I live in Miami. You know, you're in Colombia, you're in Costa Rica, 2-3 hours.
Yep.
But my whole question to those guys is, do you really want to go live in Colombia the rest of your life? Yeah. Do you really want to go be Costa Rican? It's like, for good or for bad, living in the U.S. or Canada, for that matter, pretty awesome. So vacation is one thing.
How much do you know about the Canadian guys that have families down in Cuba?
I do not know much about them, and I don't know much about Canada. I like the United States, but
so
I
the
kind of
US
included
has been
you because
off
you're
limits
Canadian.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. But the U.S. has been off limits for travel for Cubans, you know, for a long time. Like, they didn't travel there, didn't go vacation there. But a lot of Canadians figured out that it's not that far, it's close. Women are reasonably beautiful, some are incredibly hot, and they've gone there and they've had families, but they don't bring them back. They just leave them there and they send them money.
Yes.
And then they go back and visit when they want, especially in the wintertime when it's cold and crap here, and they'll kind of go back and forth, right?
But Richard, this brings up I guess a bigger question I wish we had more time for, which we can maybe do the next time. Isn't it important for a man to at least have some sort of influence and be near his kids? So you can be a passport bro, go bang, Sofia in Cuba or Martina in Colombia, have a great time, but now you're not around your kid. And I feel like that, to me, is kind of not what you want to do as a man. And you're a father who I assume spends a lot of time with his daughter, so you have a very, ability to answer this question.
Yeah, I'm of the same opinion that, as a father, you want to have an influence in your kids' lives. Like, that's one of the areas that I disagree with Andrew on, because he says, you can just have kids and let her take care of them, sort of thing. But like, children from fatherless homes or mostly absent fatherless homes don't generally do that well in society. Yep. I think Andrew is a remarkable guy, and he managed to figure it out in his circumstances. Because he came from a single mother household and a council estate and all that sort of stuff. And he rarely saw his father, even then when he was growing up. But for most kids, like, they're not that exceptional, right? And if there's an absent father, there's higher instances of teen gang activity, teenage pregnancies, shitty grades, anxiety, suicide attempts, successful suicides. Like, you go right down the list. You take the father out of the household, you're going to run into problems. So it's ideal to have the father around. I think for the first 3 to 4 years, it's not as significant. Like, if you've got a small child, 2, 3, 4 years, mom can take care of the kid for the most part. But I think where the father really needs to step up and play a role in the kid's life needs to be around 4, 5, 6 on, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think ultimately, circling back to the beginning of our conversation, Richard, is, whether you're plugged or unplugged, and you have your one life, you can make the decisions, and you have to live with the decisions that you make. So do you want to get married? If you do, are you getting a prenup? Are you marrying a woman in the West? Is she a modern woman? Is she a boss babe? Is she getting that bag? Is she a traditional woman? If you're knocking up a woman in, Cuba or Colombia, it's like, what is the relationship now with the mother? These are things I think are important for you to ask up front and understand up front, versus, holy shit, I didn't see this coming. I can't believe the girl I married cheated on me with Kevin from sales. Fuck Kevin, by the way. And then, so these are the things that I think are so important for a man to understand up front. I think that's a lot of what we're doing is education at the end of the day, male self-improvement, but it starts with education. I think that's what we're doing. Yes. Last question for you, Richard. What was that?
Doing God's work.
Doing God's work. Last question, and I said we'd circle back to this. One of my favorite things that I've watched a ton of your content, real talk. This is one of the beautiful things about the internet and social media is you can watch someone for years and years, consume their content. Next thing you know, I'm doing an hour-and-a-half interview with Richard Cooper. It's pretty damn cool. But you did an entire episode on 19 things your father should have told you but never did. You recall doing this a few years ago?
I did that as a talk at a conference. Is that the one that you're making reference to?
Yes, at the 21 conference, I believe, which I think is very powerful. And without going down the 19, you said, I'm kind of going to have to, because I want you to pick what you think are the most important 2 or 3 for men to latch onto. You said, don't let people make their problems your problems. You're not going to make a dent in the world working for somebody else. No long-term relationships with attention-seeking women. There's no cheat codes to life. Avoid women with daddy issues. You got to learn to deal with rejection. Make $1 million by 40. Don't long-term relationship with single mother. Treat life like it's the only one you got. The burden of performance is 100% on you. Stop giving to things that aren't F-worthy. And haters are confused admirers. There's such great advice here. In your mind, what are the 2 or 3 that stand out from these 19 things your father should have taught you but never did?
I think they're all very powerful lessons, so I really couldn't say which one would be the best. I mean, if you're 20 years old, it's going to be different, from if you're a 42-year-old guy like you, Adam. So it's whatever resonates with you, is what I would say.
Well, in my opinion, at this point in my life, not long-term relationship with a single mother. I almost went down that path. I said, no, thank you. We've talked about making $1 million by the time you're 40. But I think one thing that I actually want you to answer is this: is haters are confused admirers. Would you unpack that a little bit? Because you know, and I know, the bigger you get and the more you put yourself out there, the more haters you will have. One of my favorite quotes ever is the poem or the anecdote by Teddy Roosevelt, "The Man in the Arena." The credit goes for the man in the arena, actually with mud on his face doing the work, not the asshole commenting on the other side of the phone or the computer. So why are haters confused admirers? And what should people know who are doing big things in their life should understand about having haters?
Yeah, if you're doing anything big in your life, you're always going to attract hate from somebody. Look, hate only ever comes from beneath. Nobody ever gets jealous of a loser, right? You know, nobody, like, your haters are actually your best marketing team. So you guys will see it. Go watch the comments of this video afterwards. I guarantee you're going to find hate in there about me. Oh, Rich, this, that, and the other thing. Okay, well, what color is your McLaren, buddy? So look, here's you know, like, here's the thing about hate is they're a phenomenal marketing team because they never shut up about you. They're always talking about you.
Yes.
They're talking about you in comments. They're talking about you on social media to their friends. They are an unpaid marketing team. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let them, you know, like, let them spew their toxic venom. It's what they do. It's what makes them feel good. But at the end of the day, how is that a good use of your time, right? Like, I would ask haters right now to challenge themselves and say, how is this a good use of my time? How am I making more money? How am I becoming more competent? How am I becoming more influential? How am I, you know, chasing things that I want to do in life? Have you always wanted to travel the world? Do you like fast cars, but you can't afford them? How is wasting time on hate achieving your goals? It's not. It's a colossal waste of your time. Like, I don't sit there when I come across a cat video about some dumb garbage and start cats, and, you know, I just don't care. I don't care.
Yes.
I'm not interested, right?
Yeah. So, no, well said. I think you're absolutely right. Hate never comes from up top. It always comes from below. People who are unsatisfied with their existence in life, their lot in life, and they want to, you know, rather than look in the mirror and say, you got to improve, buddy, they want to be like, oh, I hate that guy, and that's the reason. Haters hate. That's
Well, let's
what
be
they
honest.
do.
If I got hate from a guy like Elon Musk, let's say, I would be flattered. I would want to listen to what he has to say.
Yeah.
Right. Like that. Like, to me, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Right. But for the most part, it's just jealousy and envy, you know, is what it ends up being. And jealousy and envy are terrible emotions. They just consume people.
I think what you're saying is if hate comes from above you, and Elon Musk, I would view that as constructive criticism. Oh, shit.
It's a compliment.
Here's a guy that's paying attention to what I'm doing and actually wants to kind of weigh in on maybe ways I can improve or highlight things I can get better on. Thanks, Elon Musk. But when it's, you know, Giggity 437, an unnamed, you know, bot on the internet who's saying, I hate Richard Cooper and Adam Sosnick, they're all losers. It's like, I'm going to take that compliment with grace and class and say thank you for being a hater.
I sleep well at night knowing that.
I will sleep well. Well, Richard, it's great to get to know you. It's for the record, what color is your McLaren?
Gray. Storm gray. Thank you.
Storm gray. Yeah, I mean, let's get that out there.
I even have the paint code.
You knew the paint code. Well, I'm going to go on record here and say I am a full-on appreciator and admire of what you do, Richard Cooper. Definitely the furthest thing from a hater. So it's great to spend some time with you. It's our first time actually meeting and speaking.
Yes.
And I'm going to say I'm a fan. I'd like to get to know you in person in Canada this summer. And I'll make sure to get in touch with you after the show and we can collaborate offline, not just online.
Yes.
Thank you, Richard Cooper. By the way, where can everybody find you? Just give yourself a free plug right there. Not getting unplugged. Free plug.
Yeah, I would start at richcooper.ca, which is my website, which will kind of lead you to everything. So just go there.
Okay,
Awesome.
cool. Well, appreciate you, Richard. Thank you for being on the Soscast on Valuetainment.
Yes.
Thanks,
thank
Adam.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Richard Cooper. All right, awesome.
And then.
Unplug? Okay, we're staying on, though, because we're going to do a little debrief right here.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay, so how you feeling, Nat?
I'm feeling great. I think, are we still on Zoom?
Oh, Richard, you still
Yeah,
on?
we're
What do you
still
need to,
on?
we need to go off?
No, I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
okay,
gotcha.
got it. Okay. I loved it. I thought it was phenomenal. I think getting a perspective from someone like him was a little refreshing. I think also adding to it his stoicism. You know, you find
Yeah.
a little bit more, like as a woman, men who are able to deliver a message in a non-emotional way, it's a little bit more like you feel a little bit more secure listening to someone like that. I think of one thing that really stuck with me, I'm a little disturbed about, was the water.
Oh,
The
yeah. What was that all about?
I don't know. I'm like, I cook pasta with faucet water. Maybe I shouldn't do that anymore.
Yeah, but he said estrogen. That's fine for
I know,
you.
but
I should be very wary of the
but
water.
when I have, like, you know, if I'm cooking for, like, you know, someone and that's what they eat, like, you have to be mindful of that. So I think, like, being in tune and understanding where those things come from is really, really important. And it's cool. He's also from Canada. So that's also another perspective to get. You know, because we get a lot of people who are more in the U.S.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. I really enjoyed him.
It's, you know, Richard has a very interesting thing. So I've consumed his content for years. By
Yeah.
the way, thank you guys for everyone out there watching the show, who watched the show.
Yes.
If you would, do a couple different things. Number one, if you haven't subscribed to Valuetainment or Valuetainment Money, hook us up with a subscribe. This is what we do here. And if there's a couple thousand people watching, whatever it is,
Yes.
we would love for you to like the video.
Make sure to like it.
So the algorithms, the big tech guys out there, know that people actually like this.
Yes.
So that's number one. Number two, if you would, give us your best takeaway from what Richard Cooper had to say. What a total G. What a total stud. He's been in this space for years, I think since 2013, 2014. So he's seen people come and go.
Yeah.
What I found interesting with Richard, I'll tell you this. I've never heard anybody say the man of swamp.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay? So,
like
you know,
that.
Donald Trump, love him or hate him, he made famous drain the swamp.
Yes.
Right? Everything Trump did was 3 words.
Yeah.
Build the wall, lock her up,
Power of
drain
3.
the swamp, power of 3. But it's very interesting. It's kind of like because he's in Canada, and because obviously during COVID you couldn't really travel, there's restrictions, and they had major restrictions in Canada. He doesn't do a lot of interactions with people in the manosphere or in the red pill community. So he has the ability to kind of sit back and be like,
Yes.
this guy's credible. I like what he's doing. That's a scumbag right there.
Yes.
He's obviously in it for the money. Can't trust him. Don't believe him. All right, this guy, all right, he's on to something. Maybe don't agree with him, but I respect him. Like, he has that ability to kind of sit back and pick and choose who he agrees with, disagrees with, and associates with.
Yeah.
Major compliment that he admires Patrick Bet-David, and by default, your boy Saz over here. But very interesting how he kind of indirectly called out some of the players in the red pill space and in the manosphere. And for the record, I do a ton of content with these guys. I have major respect for really everyone who comes on. I can't really think of anyone that comes on or I'm like, I will never have them on again,
Right.
or they're classless or anything like that. But he's a different dude. He's late 40s, early 50s, like he said. He's not doing a lot of content with the red pill creators, and he's in Canada, so he's also very stoic, very manly, very logical actor. So it's interesting to see his perspective. How'd you kind of, when he said that, I was like, hold on, did you just call them swamp creatures? What did you just say? What was your take from that?
For me, I admire that. I feel like, especially when some of the people have been doing content for so many years before all of this kind of blew up, they really get a chance to sit back and see how everybody's, giving out this content. You can kind of feel, who's like BSing, who's not really themselves, who's kind of just going with the rise of the content. And I think when you have people who are a little bit more authentic and they maybe don't interact with everybody who's talking about it, it allows you to give a little bit more of a fair perspective. So for me, I think sometimes, especially today with all of this manosphere and all this red pill, I think calling out some of the people in that space is necessary. And it's not so much to criticize, it's more sort of think like, hey, maybe I'm not coming from an authentic place. Maybe I don't have all the factors. Maybe I just want to go with the clout, So I think when you have people who are a little bit more on the authentic end, they're a little further back viewing, you get to have more of like a bird's eye view with all of this content being pushed out. And I've loved all the guests we've had on, but there's also different perspectives of each of the guests we do have on. And there is strength in that. And, this podcast is a podcast to have all those different views, and everybody in the audience, you guys get to pick who you like, who you don't like. And that's essentially like what you do here. What we do here is allowing the audience to pick and choose, who do you guys like? Who do you want to follow? What is it that you love about this person? What is it that you hate about this person? But I think overall, getting a chance to get a bird's eye view of everything, you really get to pick who you are. And he kind of touched on that was, it depends what you want as a woman. Like, what do you want? As a man, what do you want? Do you want to get married? Do you not want to get married? Have you been divorced? You have. How do you move accordingly after that? So I think I personally find a little bit more confidence in men like that, just because you don't really like talk too much with the crowd. You more talk out of your experience. And I prefer that. I like experience. I like those type of perspectives. The entertainment comes from the people who like to, get on the little wave of the cloud and all that. But at the end of the day, if you're asking me who would I want my man to take advice from, it would be someone like that, getting more of a bird's eye view. But I kind of like it. I think you should call people out when they're on their BS, and I think he would be the guy to do it. So. Well,
I know you like that strong, silent type who's, not the sigmas out there. Not the alphas. What I'll say to him, and I'll say to anybody that kind of gets to his level, or Patrick's level, or Elon Musk for that matter, someone who's made it, is one of the things that we always say here. One of the more famous quotes that Patrick talks about, we talk about at Valuetainment, is outwork, out-improve, out-strategize, but the most important thing is outlast.
Yes.
If you can do all that, some people are fly-by-night, some people are get-rich-quick, some people are microwave success type culture. It's, you let your success speak for itself. And if you're doing this and you're in this space, whether if it's in this space, whether it's in the business space, whether it's in the media space, whether it's in nightlife, whatever business you're in, and you're in it for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, that's outlasting. And then obviously you're going to have to outwork, outprove, out-strategize. And that's a clear indication with that. Yeah. I got my friend Malik over here.
Malik.
He's as swaggy as it gets. He's a Sigma.
With style. Sigma. Malik got that style.
Malik has major style. Don't even get me started on that. Malik, you're kind of the silent dude. You don't talk too much unless spoken to. Let me tell you something about Malik, by the way. The other day, he's breaking down Pat's, or setting up for a Pat shoot. And it was you and Mike in the room. You remember this? This was like a week ago, I want to say. And Malik's usually a very positive dude. Very positive. Never a bad attitude. Shows up, works, does his thing, right? If you speak to him, he'll talk to you. But he's not going to be very like rambunctious, loud like other people in the office.
Right.
I was like myself. But he's always got a good attitude. But there was something about Malik that one day where I was like, what's up? You're not yourself. Like, you're being a little quieter than usual.
Yeah.
Like, you're a little more sour than usual. What's up? How you feeling? He's like, no, I'm good. What's up? I go, scale of 1 to 10, how's your day? He's like, say an 8. I was like, an 8? Because I thought he'd be like, yeah, bro, today's like one of those days. It's like a 3 or 4 shit. And I said, why is it an 8? And his response was so amazing. He's like, look, I woke up today. Let's just start with that. He's like, I have my health, I have my family, I have my gratitude, I got my limbs, I'm working, I'm at a place I want to be. He's like, there's not a lot for me to complain about. I'm like, go ahead, Malik.
Go, Malik.
And like, I wasn't having the best day ever. And I just kind of went, I was just like, what's up? And I was like, fuck, Malik just turned my day around.
Yes.
And then I asked Big Mike, I'm like, how's your day? He's like, 10, bro. 10. What's up? I'm like, you're not yet. No.
Too late.
Yeah, like, too late. But anyway, Malik, you're sitting here watching this show. I know you're the type of guy that's, you're listening to things. All right, cool. When should I get married? What should I do? Make money. All right, $1 million. Here's that. All right, Rich said this. All right, what color's your McLaren? Bing, 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 bing. What was your takeaway from today's episode? And more importantly, takeaways are cool. What have you learned sitting in on these types of shows that you can apply to your life? Because you're 26 now?
Yeah, 26.
26. Your birthday's November?
Yeah, November.
Right?
November.
I know, Malik.
Okay.
What did you learn today? What have you learned, and what are you applying to your life?
Well, first thing I'll start off with, the first thing that stuck with me was the 80% rule about the goals. Because, like, it's always like a thing to always strive to accomplish 100% of my goals. But it's like, if you accomplish them, it's like, now what? You know, like you hit the ceiling. It's like, where do you have to go from there? So like, I like that to like even set a huge, far out of reach goal. Yeah. Like even if you come up short, you still made it further than that initial ceiling that you placed upon yourself.
Yeah, my friend Alex, if he's watching this, Alex Goldstein, if you ever watch this, or anyone that knows him, big realtor in Miami, great dude. Every time he does, he probably doesn't even think I know this, but I know this. Anytime he does a social media post, he writes in massive letters, scary, massive goals. That's like his hashtags. And the kids killed it. So anyway, so respect. So hitting your goals, but having scary, massive goals. What else? What have you applied that you've learned here since you've been on Valuetainment or watching any of our shows?
Oh, I would definitely say chase money, not chase excellence, not women.
Okay.
I thought he was about to say FBGM. It's like, Malik, relax, pump the brakes. But this has been good. Thank you for being in on this today. This is one of those episodes where it's Friday. We're wrapping up for the weekend. We had the great Richard Cooper on. We had Brian Callen on this week. Yeah. Justin Waller on yesterday with a great panel.
Busy week this week.
It took Malik, our friend Malik, who's been, has it been a year? Have you been at Valuetainment a year yet?
It's about to be soon.
It's about to be.
Me too.
It took Malik. Yeah, this is 3 years for me.
Nice.
10 years, almost 11 years of knowing Pat. It took Malik just on a random day breaking down a set to be like, brother, what do I have to complain about?
Yeah.
I got my health. I'm alive. Gratitude. I got my limbs. You probably never even thought I thought twice about that conversation.
Oh, no,
but I think about that. Exactly. Anyway, guys, that is it. Is there anything we need to address, or can I wrap up?
I'll give some shout outs to the super chats. I know we had some chats today, not too many, but we did get some nice donations. So thank you all for the super chats. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.
This is Nat's rant right now.
Yeah, this is my
rant.
Go. So let's
Nat
get
is
to
learning
it.
how to read. Hooked on phonics work for me. She's doing it.
I'm doing it.
We all know she's got $1 million smile, but she's learning how to read
for you
like
guys.
$1 million entrepreneur.
Yes.
Let them know, Nat.
So the first one is my favorite because there's nothing to read. It's just a donation. Thank you, Ali, for the $20.
Ali, no words. How much?
3-letter name. Yeah. You're my guy. I love it. And then we actually do have a little bit of a hater in the chat from Andrino. He said, Richard Cooper, he goes he's a little bit of a hypocrite, a scam artist, and the last person to get advice from. So that is one of the haters. We also have, he is a single mom hater and he doesn't like Coach Greg Adams. So you brought that up and he probably just not feeling it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. But thanks for the super chats. We appreciate you. And then we got Ayo Stupid. Appreciate you. $5. Keep it up. We love it. And that's it for the super chats today. We appreciate all of you guys. And thank you for giving us these chats so you can help me with my reading.
Thank you.
Really enjoy it.
She's helping with the reading. And I'm just going to put a public service announcements, PSA. I don't know where our friend Beaten Cheeks is today.
Yeah, Beaten Cheeks.
But Beaten Cheeks.
Where are you at? And where's Happy, Beaten Cheeks? We're missing you guys in here.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, it's the weekend and I got to go beat some cheeks up. Guys, thank you so much. We are doing this every Thursday and Friday.
Yes.
If you would, what guests should we get on next?
Yeah,
I want to get some more
below.
crowd feedback. We get guests here. We get big names, whether it's on my show, PBD show, Jed, the whole thing.
Give
if
us some guests
out
that
there,
will do some challenging.
we'll reach
give
out
us some
to them
of those
and
guests.
bring them on here.
Yeah. Like, this is a perfect platform for people with different perspectives to challenge each other. And, we want to provide that for you guys here. So give us some guests that you like, guests that you don't like, people you want to see, people you've never seen, because we want to provide some value for you guys in that way.
Well, here's last but not least, only because I'm watching this and the lighting is incredible.
Yes.
Can you put the camera on this beautiful girl real quick? Thank you, Nat. Nat, smile and tell the people
I spent a lot of money on them.
They're
They're mine.
missing if they don't subscribe and like the video. Go ahead, let them know what they need to do.
Guys, if you don't subscribe to the channel, you're not only missing the Sauce Man, okay? You're missing all the money content we got on here. You're missing PBD, Valuetainment in general. And let me tell you, we're just getting started when it comes to the content here. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you guys subscribe, share the video. I know nobody shares videos anymore. I don't know what that's about, but we got to start sharing the video. So make sure you guys do that. And look out, because we do have a nice, beautiful set, and there are many exciting things headed this way. So we will see you guys soon. And thank you guys for tuning in today. We love you. you, and have a phenomenal weekend. And save that money now. Save that money.
Let's get some of that smoke going the whole way. By the way, if you're not the type of guy that likes pretty, amazing, awesome girls,
with good teeth,
let's get a close up on this gorgeous black man right here, Malik.
He's got good teeth too.
Let's get those smoke machines going out here. It's Friday. You can even speed on the highway. Be safe out there.
Yes.
Don't do anything I wouldn't do, which isn't a lot.
Yes.
But be safe. Call your mom. Tell your girl you love her, or, you know,
and
you want to beat them cheeks, whatever. Whatever it is. Thank you guys for being with us today on another episode of the Soscast. We appreciate you. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you next time. We out.
Love you.
Save that money, gentlemen. Ba-rum, bum, bum.